Her name is a whisper from the ancient past, a myth veiled in mystery and fear. Lilith, an ancient symbol of defiance and darkness, a figure who chose exile over submission. Created as Adam's equal, she left paradise willingly, casting aside the comforts of Eden for the unknown solitude of the wilderness. But who is Lilith truly? A demon queen, a temptress, or a hero who defied convention to claim her freedom? The story of Lilith stretches back to some of the earliest written legends, filled with symbolism that challenges traditional narratives of submission and conformity. Her name first appears in ancient Sumerian texts where the term Lilu referred to spirits of the night. Even in those times, Lilith represented the unknown, something to be feared, yet also something powerful and alluring. In the oldest tales, Lilith is depicted as a force of independence and dark mystery. Later, in Jewish folklore, her role expanded, portraying her as the first wife of Adam. Unlike Eve, who would be created from Adam's rib, Lilith was made from the same earth as he was, an equal in every sense. This foundational equality marks Lilith as more than just a mythological figure. She becomes an embodiment of the idea that women, too, possess inherent power and autonomy. Her decision to leave Eden, rejecting paradise itself, seems radical, yet it offers a powerful metaphor, that freedom may require sacrifice, and that the pursuit of independence can sometimes lead to isolation. Lilith's tale is not just a story of rebellion, it is an exploration of autonomy, the right to define oneself, even if it means breaking away from the safety of the familiar. In a world where women were often seen as secondary to men, Lilith's myth is strikingly bold. She doesn't accept a secondary role, she demands equality. Her story holds a mirror up to the ancient fear of female autonomy, of a woman who exists beyond the control of man or societal norms. And for this, her image was transformed. Lilith, the first rebel, became demonized, a figure of fear and temptation. Yet, within this demonization lies a profound irony. Lilith's defiance turned her into an eternal symbol. Her myth endures not just because she was feared, but because she represents something powerful and intrinsic, the courage to choose freedom, no matter the cost. To understand Lilith fully, we must first explore her creation. As the first woman, created alongside Adam, she was his equal in body and spirit. But it was this very equality that would eventually lead to conflict. Lilith's creation was an act that broke the mold of convention. Formed from the same earth as Adam, she was not made to be a subordinate but an equal. Her very existence challenged the notion of hierarchy in paradise, a challenge that would set her on a path of rebellion and transformation. In the beginning, according to ancient lore, God created Lilith alongside Adam, crafting them from the same clay, from the same earth. This was no accident, their simultaneous creation signified a fundamental equality in their nature. Unlike Eve, who would later be created from Adam's rib as his companion, Lilith was intended to stand alongside him as his partner and equal. The significance of Lilith's origin goes far beyond mythology. It suggests a radical idea, that men and women were created with equal purpose, strength, and worth. In a world where men were traditionally seen as dominant, Lilith's creation story served as a stark symbol. From the outset, she was given an equal footing in paradise, a sense of identity and purpose that went beyond subservience or companionship. But equality, for Lilith, meant autonomy, a right to choose her own path and make her own decisions. She did not see herself as bound by Adam's authority, nor did she consider herself obligated to follow him blindly. This independence, deeply rooted in her nature, foreshadows the conflict that would soon arise. She valued her individuality and autonomy as sacred, a part of her very essence that could not be compromised. Her creation from the same earth as Adam imbued her with a fierce sense of self, a sense of her own value that did not rely on another's approval or authority. This conviction, however, was unsettling for Adam and for the order of paradise. Adam, who was created in the same instant, expected Lilith to adopt a secondary role, to comply and submit. For Lilith, this expectation clashed with her very identity. In refusing to bow, Lilith became the first woman in myth to assert her autonomy. Her existence itself was a challenge to a society that valued obedience over independence, submission over self-assertion. This single act of creation, making Lilith from the same earth as Adam, would ultimately lead her to a fate unlike any other. It was a silent defiance written into her very being, a defiance that could not be subdued. But equality in creation soon led to division. As Lilith asserted her independence, a rift grew between her and Adam, one that would ultimately force her to make an impossible choice. Lilith and Adam were created as equals, yet their understanding of this equality differed. While Adam saw himself as the authority, Lilith saw herself as his equal, not his subordinate. This difference ignited a conflict that would lead to the first rebellion in paradise. The harmonious vision of Eden quickly began to unravel when Lilith and Adam's ideas of their roles clashed. Adam assumed a natural hierarchy, seeing himself as the dominant partner. He expected Lilith to accept a role beneath him, to defer to his decisions as the head of their union. But for Lilith, equality meant that neither would have authority over the other. She envisioned their relationship as one of mutual respect, free from demands or control. This tension between Lilith and Adam grew, their relationship strained by their differing ideals. Adam's attempts to assert authority over her clashed with Lilith's sense of independence, and she resisted. In a defining moment, she is said to have proclaimed, "We are both created from the same earth. Why must I lie beneath you?" This question, seemingly simple, carried revolutionary weight. It was a direct challenge to the hierarchy that Adam believed to be his right. Lilith's refusal was not just about physical subordination, it was a refusal to let her identity be defined by another. She rejected the idea that her value and purpose could only be realized in subservience. This act of defiance marked her as unique in the mythology of early humanity. She was willing to defend her autonomy, even if it meant disrupting the paradise they shared. The dispute between Lilith and Adam represents more than just a personal disagreement, it illustrates the clash between freedom and control, between autonomy and societal expectation. Adam was unprepared for a partner who would assert her own identity. He expected unity to come through dominance, but Lilith's sense of equality demanded mutual respect and freedom. Adam, unable to accept her defiance, grew increasingly frustrated. For him, Lilith's refusal to submit wasn't just a disagreement, it was an affront to the natural order he believed in. For Lilith, however, the stakes were even higher. To remain and submit would mean denying her very nature. In her heart, she understood that compromise would mean erasing herself, surrendering her autonomy for a false peace. As their conflict escalated, Lilith faced a difficult decision: conform to Adam's expectations and deny herself, or leave paradise altogether in search of true freedom. Her choice would change the course of her life and her legacy forever. Confronted with the choice between submission and self-preservation, Lilith chose to walk away from paradise. She left Eden, embracing exile over a life defined by submission. It was a decision that would forever mark her as an outcast but also as a figure of uncompromising independence. With no resolution possible, Lilith made an extraordinary choice: she would leave Eden. Abandoning the paradise created for her, she uttered a powerful, divine name of God, a name known only to a few, and invoked it to gain the strength to escape. This act alone was monumental. It signified her willingness to sever herself from a life others considered perfect, choosing self-liberation over the comfort of compliance. Lilith's departure was more than a physical exit from Eden, it was a declaration of her autonomy, her insistence on defining herself on her own terms. Leaving paradise meant embracing solitude, unknown dangers, and the harshness of the desert. She accepted these risks because, for Lilith, true freedom was worth any sacrifice. The wilderness she entered symbolized both isolation and the untamed aspects of her spirit, a place where she could be whole, even if alone. In ancient traditions, the desert was a place associated with spirits and outcasts, a land outside the bounds of society and civilization. Here, Lilith found not only freedom but also the strength to embody her own nature fully. The desert became both her refuge and her new kingdom, a land where she was not bound by anyone's expectations or demands. Lilith's choice to live in the wilderness marked her as the first exile, but it also elevated her to a powerful archetype of defiance. Her story underscores the cost of autonomy and the courage it takes to live outside the parameters set by others. In rejecting the confines of Eden, Lilith became more than a woman. She became a symbol of those who choose authenticity over conformity, a figure who inspires but also terrifies, challenging the conventional boundaries of society. Lilith's solitude in the desert was harsh, yet it offered her a liberation that paradise never could. Here, under the vastness of the night sky, she was fully herself, free from the expectations of Eden. The isolation she faced was difficult, but her spirit was unbroken, her sense of self intact. In this way, Lilith became both the first exile and the first true sovereign of her own life, a choice few could make, but one that brought her a rare, uncompromised existence. But Lilith's story did not end in the desert. Her departure from Eden triggered a response from the heavens, as angels were sent to bring her back. Yet even when faced with divine intervention, Lilith remained steadfast, prepared to embrace the consequences of her choice. News of Lilith's departure reached the heavens, and her defiance did not go unnoticed. Determined to restore order, God sent 3 angels to find her, to convince her to return to Eden and submit. But even faced with divine messengers, Lilith remained resolute, prepared to face any consequence rather than relinquish her freedom. Lilith's choice to leave Eden defied the order of creation itself. Her refusal to conform went against the very structure of paradise, and her self-imposed exile in the wilderness was seen as a rupture in the perfection of Eden. To bring her back into the fold, God dispatched 3 angels, Sinoi, Sansonoi, and Samangeloth, each entrusted with a divine command, to find Lilith and persuade her to return to the garden and to Adam. When the angels found her, they delivered their message with a blend of authority and compassion. They promised her forgiveness, a return to the comforts of Eden, and reconciliation with Adam if she would only agree to submit. Yet Lilith, unshaken, stood her ground. She had left Eden precisely because she valued her autonomy, and she knew that returning meant surrendering that autonomy forever. Lilith's refusal was final. She declared that she would rather endure eternal exile than relinquish her independence. To the angels, her decision marked a challenge to divine authority, an unprecedented act of defiance. Her words, spoken with conviction, severed any hope of reconciliation. Lilith chose the unknown and unprotected desert over the ordered paradise of Eden. The angels, realizing that she would not be swayed, responded with a divine curse. In retaliation for her defiance, they proclaimed that Lilith would become the mother of demons, her offspring doomed to roam the earth, feeding on the fears of humanity. This curse marked the moment of her transformation from the first woman into a figure of the supernatural, of night and shadows. Her identity would forever be tied to the world outside the light, the wild, and the untamed. In a way, the curse was a reflection of the world's inability to understand or accept Lilith's choice. Her unwillingness to be subdued was seen as so unnatural that it demanded punishment. The act of making her the mother of demons was intended as a condemnation, yet it also granted her a new kind of power, a fierce independence that was beyond the control of Eden or its inhabitants. This transformation made Lilith an eternal figure of both fear and fascination. No longer bound by human or divine expectations, she became a symbol of power and autonomy. The world would come to see her as a dark force, yet she was simply a woman who chose her own path, no matter the consequences. Lilith's journey did not end with the curse. Instead, it marked the beginning of a new chapter. As the mother of demons, she became a queen of the night, an embodiment of unbound power and mystery. Her story, far from being a cautionary tale, would inspire future generations as an example of the strength to live on one's own terms. Lilith's transformation into the queen of demons did not diminish her, it liberated her. Cursed to dwell in darkness and mother demonic beings, Lilith embraced her new identity, finding power and freedom in the shadows. Her exile had become her kingdom. With her refusal to submit to Adam and the curse cast upon her, Lilith fully embraced her role outside the bounds of Eden. She was no longer merely a woman or an exile, she became the queen of demons, a ruler of the forces beyond light. In the wilds of the desert, Lilith found a new purpose and identity. The darkness she was sentenced to inhabit became her realm, a place where she could express her true self without constraint. Her children, the demons she was cursed to mother, became symbols of this defiance. They were embodiments of humanity's darkest fears and desires, mirroring the complexity of Lilith's own spirit. While society deemed her children monstrous, they also represented the unacknowledged sides of human nature, the raw emotions, the untamed aspects of the psyche that do not conform to social rules. In this way, Lilith not only accepted her curse but transformed it into a legacy that made her a figure both feared and revered. In ancient cultures, the night was seen as a time when spirits roamed and when the subconscious emerged in dreams. As the queen of demons, Lilith became an embodiment of this nocturnal power, a protector of those hidden places within ourselves where our deepest truths lie. Her association with the night symbolized both her separation from society and her role as a guardian of all that is mysterious and unconfined. The imagery of Lilith surrounded by her demonic children reflects society's need to contain and vilify those who defy its expectations. Yet, rather than allowing the curse to limit her, Lilith transformed it into her strength. She became an archetype of the wild, untamed feminine spirit, showing that even the forces society tries to demonize contain power, beauty, and integrity. In many ways, Lilith's story transcends simple labels of good or evil. As a demon queen, she does not become a villain, instead, she becomes a powerful figure who lives by her own rules, indifferent to the expectations placed upon her. Her power comes from within, and it is this inner strength that makes her a figure of fascination throughout history. She cannot be controlled, labeled, or diminished. Lilith remains a figure of profound strength, someone who inspires those who value freedom over acceptance. By embracing her destiny as the queen of demons, Lilith carved out her own myth, a story that endures because it speaks to the universal desire for independence and self-realization. Far from being defeated by her curse, she transformed it into her identity, embodying the idea that freedom lies in embracing the full spectrum of our nature. Though Lilith's time in ancient texts faded, her influence did not. Her image endured, shaping perceptions of femininity, freedom, and defiance for centuries. Her story, far from disappearing, would be reborn in modern times as a symbol of strength and resilience. Centuries after she first left Eden, Lilith's story endures. No longer just a demon or outcast, she has emerged in modern times as a symbol of strength, a reminder of the power of choice and the courage to stand alone. Her name, once feared, now inspires those who seek freedom and authenticity. Though Lilith's story began in the ancient world, her influence has only grown with time. Her legacy transformed from that of a demonized exile to a symbol of defiant strength and autonomy. In the modern world, Lilith has been reclaimed as a figure who represents the courage to stand firm, the refusal to submit, and the resilience to forge one's own path. She is celebrated not as a figure of darkness, but as an emblem of empowerment. Today, Lilith's name is often invoked by those who challenge traditional gender roles and fight for equality. In feminist circles, her image has become iconic, a representation of the right to choose independence over conformity, to value oneself regardless of societal expectations. Her refusal to be controlled resonates with those who seek to live authentically, honoring their own voices and values over imposed identities. In literature, art, and even popular culture, Lilith is no longer just the queen of demons, she is seen as a powerful matriarch, a woman of boundless independence. Writers and artists have reimagined her, presenting her as a warrior of self-empowerment, a figure who represents the right to choose one's path, no matter the obstacles. Far from the fearful figure of ancient times, the modern Lilith is a source of inspiration. This reclamation of Lilith as a positive symbol demonstrates a shift in how society perceives autonomy and rebellion. Once, these qualities were feared and punished. Today, they are celebrated as essential traits in the journey towards self-realization. Lilith's tale has become a story of resilience and empowerment, a tale that reminds us that strength often lies in nonconformity, and that the price of freedom is worth every sacrifice. Lilith's role as an icon of independence challenges outdated notions of obedience and submission. By choosing self-respect over compromise, she demonstrated that dignity often requires sacrifice. Her story empowers individuals to ask, "What does it mean to be true to myself?" and encourages them to follow the path that aligns with their innermost values. In reclaiming Lilith, society also reclaims the parts of the self that were once feared or suppressed. Her story teaches that every person has the right to seek freedom and fulfillment. Lilith stands as a testament to the strength that comes from within, a strength that grows when we honor ourselves, even if the world does not understand or accept us. Lilith's influence today can be felt in movements that promote self-worth, independence, and equality. Her name, once whispered in fear, now resonates as a symbol of strength for those who value authenticity over acceptance. Through her journey, Lilith reminds us that the truest freedom lies in embracing our full selves, honoring both light and shadow. The story of Lilith endures because it speaks to the soul's deepest desires, the need for self-determination, the strength to stand alone, and the courage to defy what others may think. From ancient myth to modern inspiration, Lilith's journey reminds us all that freedom is a path worth following. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking the time to explore this fascinating story with us. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world to us, and God bless us all.